Okay. Today we'll see about redolog files. Then we'll see about another physical files which are password file, listener file, and TNS names. After that we'll see about data files. So by today we should complete the physical components of the Oracle architecture. So first we'll see about redolog files. Okay. So we already saw redolog buffer will hold the information about committed and uncommitted transactions. We already saw that. Now we already know it will store the information about committed as well as uncommitted. And we already know whenever the redolog buffer is 1/3 full, 2/3 full, or for every 3 seconds log writer will flush the content from redolog buffer to the redolog files. And we also saw we require at least 2 redolog files such that log writer can perform a redolog switch. So if one of the redolog file is filled, it will switch to the another redolog file. And switching of log writer from one redolog file to another redolog file is called as redolog switch. Now, at least 2 redolog files are required. The next thing is whenever you're talking about the redolog files will always be present in the form of groups. So for example, if you have 2 redolog files, usually that will be in groups. So you will have 2 redolog groups called as group 1 and group 2. Group 1 and group 2. And whenever it is to that full or for every 3 seconds, log writer flush the content and it will write to the redolog files. And within this redolog group, we will have the redolog file. So say for example, this is file1.log. And the file inside the group 2 is called as file2.log. And each file inside the group is called as a member. Redolog files will always be present in the form of groups, and each file inside the group is called as a member. And this will be a member 1, and this will be again member 1 in redolog group 2. So it will not be a member 2 because in this group it will be a member 1. Okay. Now once this redolog file is filled, log writer will perform a log switch and it will switch to the another redolog group. So switching of log writer from one redolog group to another redolog group is called as log switch. And this information which is present in the redolog files is required in order to perform the instance recovery. Whenever information present in the redolog files is used to perform the instance recovery. Whenever the database is not shut down properly, due to some power failure or something happened on the database and it crashed. So whenever we'll bring up the database again, S1 process will perform the instance recovery. While performing the instance recovery, it will use the content which is present in the redolog files in order to recover the transactions. Now, so these redolog files are very important in order to perform the instance recovery, in order to replay all the transactions which are occurred during the failure. So these redolog files are very important. So there are chances that the redolog file may be corrupted. So it is better, and Oracle also recommends to multiplex the redolog files. So instead of having one member in each redolog group, we will have two members. So instead of having file1.log, we will have two members, file1.log and file2.log. Or we'll make in such, file2.log. Here we'll make it as file3.log and the other member as file4.log. And we'll have two members in each group, and all the members in the redolog group will be similar. So whatever the content present in the redolog member 1, even in the member 2 we will have the same content. It's just a replica of existing member in the redolog group. So if one of the redolog member in the redolog file is corrupted, still using the another redolog member we can recover all the transactions. And information about redolog groups will be present in $log. This is a dynamic view which will give you the information about redolog groups. And to get the location of redolog files, we will use another dynamic view called as $log_file. These are the two views which will give you the information about redolog files. Okay. Do you have any doubts till now?
No, here.
So whenever we are talking about redolog files, at least two groups are required. Minimum two groups are required, such that redolog writer can perform the redolog switch. So minimum two groups are required. And Oracle recommends to multiplex the redolog files. So Oracle recommends to have multiple members in each group. And then what should be the size of redolog files? So depending upon how many DML statements performed for each minute, depending upon the transaction rate, we will determine the redolog file. Because if you have lot of transactions going on in the database, then lot of redolog switch will happen. That means the redolog files will be filled in a rigorous fashion. Because if you set the redolog file size as 20 MB, and if your transaction rate is like 10 MB per second, for each and every 2 seconds redolog file 1 will be filled, and log needs to perform a redolog switch, and it needs to point to the second redolog file. So depending upon the transaction rate, we will determine how much size we need to set the redolog file. And also depending upon the transaction rate, we will determine how many redolog groups are required. Or like the minimum required groups are 2, but depending upon the transaction rate, we will increase the redolog groups. The reason why we need to increase the redolog groups is same example which I told you. If the transaction rate is like 10 MB per second, if the transactions are performed in such a way that 10 MB of redolog information is generated for each and every second, so within 2 seconds group 1 will be filled, redolog writer will perform a log switch, and it will write the content to the redolog group 2. Now within 2 seconds redolog group 2 will be filled, and log writer needs to perform a switch back to the redolog group 1. But if we have the archlog enabled at the database level, log writer needs to wait until archiver process archive the content from the redolog group 1 to the archlog files. Am I correct or not? Log writer should always wait until the archiver process completes writing the content of redolog group to the archlog files. So before overwriting the redolog group, log writer should wait. So if this is the case, that means log writer will wait until archiver completes the archival. As a result, the whole database will be in a hung. If archiver takes 5 minutes to complete the write operation, that means until 5 minutes the database will be in hung state. So database will not respond to your transactions. So that is the reason why we will increase the number of redo log groups. So if we increase the redo log groups, that means if redo log group 2 is filled, it will switch to the another redo log group and it will write the content. After that, it will go to the group 4. After completing or once the redo log group 4 is filled, then it will come back to the redo log group 1. That means we are giving some more time to the archival process to perform the archival. So depending upon the transaction rate, will determine the number of redo log groups and also the file size. And within the redo log group, all the members should be of the same size. As I said, all the members in the redo log group will be replicas. So that means all the members should be of the same size. And across the groups, that means if the group 1, in the group 1 I have file1.log and file2.log as 20 MB. The size of file 1 and file 2 is 20 MB. Now I can have group 2 files with the size of 30 MB. So across the group we can have redolog files of different size, but within the group we cannot have the files of different size. Within the group the file should be same size. That means within the group all the members should be of the same size, but across the group the size can be different. But Oracle recommends to create the redolog file groups with the same size. Any questions?
No, Mohan.
Yeah, no, man.
Now we will see how to create redolog groups, but before doing that we'll see how to check the information about the redolog files. So this is another way we can set the database environment, like the way we execute the script setDB in order to set Oracle home, Oracle SID and path. In the same way, you can also use dot space or inv. This is like whenever you install the Oracle software, automatically a script called as or inv will be created. So you can also use that script in order to set the environment. So once you issue dot space or inv, it will ask you what is your SID. So what is the database name you want to connect to. So once you specify the Oracle SID, it will set the environment, Oracle home, path and Oracle SID. So whenever you are trying to connect to the database, these are the three environmental variables you need to set. After that, okay, now I'll issue startup no mount. I want to just start the instance. Okay. Now, as I said, we will use $log view in order to get the information about redo-log groups. That's what I said. So select, or first I'll describe $log. So as I said, $log is a dynamic view. So that means we can view this $log even in no-mon state. Even the database is in no-mon state, we can view this view. Now select group number, members, bytes from $log. Oh, okay. So we can only describe the $log, but we cannot get the content from the $log view. So when the database is in no-mount mode, we can describe the $log in order to check what are the columns it has. But when the database is in no-mount mode, you cannot retrieve the content. The data in the $log view, you cannot retrieve the content. Now, let me mount the database. Now the database is in no-mount mode. I want to open the database. Can I do it by using alt database open?
No, just we need to mount the database first.
Ashish?
Come on.
Yeah. Can I issue alt database open? Right now the database is in no-mount mode. Now I want to issue alt database open. Can I do that?
No, I think no, I'm on thing of the mount, right?
Yeah. So we have to go into mount mode. Okay. Now let me try to access the view video log. Here in mount mode, I'll be able to access video log. I'll be able to retrieve the content. See, so basically I have three groups in the database: group 1, 2 and 3, and each group have just one member. So that means my redolog files, whether my redolog files are multiplexed or not.
No,
Yeah. So the
that
reason
means you
is
have
I just have one member. So if I have one member in each redolog group, that means the redolog files are not multiplexed. And this is the size of each redolog member. So all the groups have the same size of 50 MB. So basically I have three redolog groups, each of one member, and the size of redolog group is 50 MB. Now let me open the database. And also, as I said, video log only gives you information about redo log group. But if you want to get information about redo log files, where the redo log files are located, what is the location of redo log files, then you need to access $log file view. So now this is my redolog file location. So my redolog files are located under slash database followed by database name followed by test, database name followed by instance name, and then I have redo03.log, redo02.log and redo01.log. So these are my redolog file locations. So if I want to know where the redolog files are stored, I have to query vdollar file view. And even vdollar file we can access when the database is in mount mode. Now let me issue all the database open. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. So if you see here, it says not connected to Oracle. When I tried to issue other database open, it errored out saying end of file communication channel. So that means when the database was in mount and when I was trying to open the database, it failed. As a result, the instance is also terminated. Now, if I want to know whether the instance is really running or not on the server, how can I check that?
$V instance status.
I mean like that I will get it whenever the instance is really started.
Okay.
But if I do SQL plus /sysdba, it says connected to an idle instance. So that means I cannot access V dollar instance.
Okay.
It says not logged on. So what is the way we can find out whether my instance is running or not? So what happens when instance started? It will actually start the background process and it will allocate the SGA. Correct or not? So we need to check
Hmm.
for the existence of background process. We need to check whether the background process are running or not. So using ps minus ef grep
Okay.
ora underscore dev. So if you see here, there are no background process running on the server. That means my instance is not started. So when I tried to issue Alter database open, it actually errored out and as a result, the instance got terminated. Now I have to find out the reason why I was not able to open the database. So in order to check that, as already said, alert log is a file which will give you about what are the structural changes happening on the database and also any error related messages. So you need to check in the alert log file what caused the instance to be terminated, what caused my alter database open command to be errored out. So we will check it in the alert log. So I know my alert log location, but usually it will be under Oracle base followed by RDBMS followed by diag followed by RDBMS. After that it will be database name and then instance name. Inside that we'll have a folder called as trace and here we will have the alert log file. And star means if I do ls minus ltr alert star, it will give me the file names which are starting with alert. So asterisk means starting with alert, after alert, whatever it may be, list all the files. So I just have one file with the alert starting with alert, which is alert underscore test.log. So always alert log will be of the form alert underscore oracle sid dot log. This will be the alert log name, alert underscore sid dot log. Now let me open the alert log. This will have all the recordings starting from when the database is started. So I have to go to the end of the file. So what is the command I have to use in order to go to end of the file in VA editor? I guess I already told you. What is the option I can use in order to go to end of the file?
Shift G.
Yeah, escape shift G will take you to the
Yeah.
end of the file. Now on the last line it said instance terminated by user process ID 4894. Okay, so something has recorded here. Now we will start from when the instance is started. Okay, instance started with no errors. All the background process has started properly. After that, I issued alter database mount. Okay, it said successfully mounted redolog thread. Everything is good. Alter database mount is completed. You're able to see the.
Yeah.
Okay. Or do you want me to increase the font size?
I can see.
Okay. Now, when I issued alter database open, it started the archiver process. Archiver started. Now, it said failed to create file under /backup. So this is the error, and that is the reason why the instance got terminated. So we will see why it tried to create a file under slash backup. Now I want to know why it want to create a file under slash backup. So something should be there in the parameter file which will show me what is the destination, like what slash backup is used for. So I have to go to the parameter file. What is the location of parameter file?
Oracle underscore home DBS.
Okay. Can any one of you tell me why it says no such file or directory when I do cd oracle home slash dbs?
You are not in, I think you are in different folder like trace.
No, but still, from any of the folder, I can go to cd oracle home slash dbs. If you see here, let me go to slash, or let me go to slash home slash oracle slash desktop, which is different thing. Now, if I do cd oracle home slash dbs, I'm able to go into that folder. So it doesn't matter. cd command works from any of the location. But why it's not working here?
Think trace.
Because I haven't set oracle home. If I do echo $oracle underscore home, it returns null value. So whenever you set the environment, it will be only for the session specific. So it will apply only for this terminal, not for this terminal.
Okay.
Okay. So you can do cd from wherever you want. So slash dbs. Okay. Now I don't have p file, I just have sp file. So think that I just have the sp file, I don't have the p file. Now in order to check for what location the slash backup is being used, I have to read the content which is present in the sp file. But sp file is a binary file. So how can I read that?
Create a P file.
No, I don't want to create a p file. I just want to read the content of sp file itself.
Strings, by using strings.
Yeah, by using strings command, we can view the content of a binary file. So I'll do strings sp file test.ora, and I just want to check for backup. So I'll just search for the string backup. So output of this command I will give as input to another command. So I'll do pipe grep and then slash backup. Okay, so the reason why I enclosed in double quotes is slash has a different meaning. So in order to escape that, like in Linux level, the slash will have a different meaning. So in order to avoid that one, we need to enclose the search string in double quotes. Now, so the log archival destination is slash backup. So that means it was trying to archive the content of redolog file into the archive log files. But while doing that, it was not able to perform. So we will see what is the reason why it was unable to create a file in slash backup. First, let me check whether I have sufficient space on slash backup or not. So how can I check that? I want to check whether slash backup has sufficient space or not. I want to check the usage of slash backup mount point. How much of space is used for
Mount
slash backup? Yeah.
df minus h.
So df minus h will give me the usage of all the mount points. I just want to check it for slash backup. So what I'll do, I'll just do df minus h slash backup. No, just slash backup. This will give me the usage of just slash backup mount point. Now if you see here, the available is 3.6 GB. So that means I have space, but still Oracle is unable to create file under slash backup. Now we'll see what could be the reason. Oracle was unable to create a file under slash backup. Now, I want to see the directory permissions of slash backup. I want to see who is the owner of the directory and who has the right permissions on slash backup. Because Oracle was not able to create the file, that means looks like the error is related to the permission issue. Oracle user is unable to create a file under slash backup. So how can I check that?
ls minus ltr,
Okay, yeah.
the directory name.
Okay. The problem with this command is it will give you all the files which are present under slash backup. It will give you the permissions of all the files which are present under slash backup. It will not give you the directory permissions. It will give you the permissions of all the files. So in order to just get the permissions of the directory itself, we will use ls minus ld. D stands for directory slash backup. So now if you see here, slash backup is owned by root user, and other users have just read and execute permissions on this directory. As a result, so whenever you start the database, it is started as Oracle user. So Oracle user is trying to archive the content of redo into the Oracle log files, and the Oracle user doesn't have the permissions on slash backup. As a result, it errored out. Now, in order to overcome this issue, what should we do? We have to change the ownership of slash backup. So what is the command to change the ownership?
chmod.
Chmod will change the permissions. I want to change the ownership itself.
Ch1.
Yeah. So chown will be used to change the ownership. So this is how you need to troubleshoot the issues even in the real time. So whenever you have any issues, you need to go to the alert log file. You have to check for the errors related to the incident, and then you need to track all those things. Okay. Now, as I change the permission, as I change the ownership to Oracle, I'll try to start up the database and I'll see what will happen. Okay. Now we had no issues. The database is open without any errors. Now we'll see how to create a new redolog group. So we already saw I have 3 redolog groups existing on the database. Group number, member. The reason why I'm dividing it with 1024 is it is in bytes. So by dividing by 1024, I'll get it in kilobytes. And again, dividing it by 1024, I'll get the size in megabytes. Now, okay. So it says invalid identifier. That means the column is not properly written. So it should be members, not number. So I have 3 groups and I have just 1 member in each group. Now I want to create a new redolog group. In order to create a new redolog group, the command will be alter database add log file group 4, and then you have to specify the location where you want to create the file. So I want to create it in our slash database slash test slash redolog underscore 4 underscore 1 dot log. Usually we'll follow this naming convention. Redolog underscore 4, that means this is a group number. Underscore 1, this is the member number within the redolog group. So in group 4, this is the first member. So that is the reason why I'm giving it with underscore 1. After that, I have to specify the size of this redolog group. So I'll specify it as 50 MB. So this is the way we can create a new redolog group. And if you don't specify the group number, it will automatically take the next group number. For example, right now I'll be having 4 redolog groups. So if you see the output of this command, now I will have 4 redolog groups and each of 50 MB. The same command, if I issue without specifying the group number, it will take the next group number. So I'll just specify redolog this redolog file name can be of any name. Just I'm giving it because I'll know it will create a redolog group with group 5. Don't think that by specifying 5 here, it created redolog group 5. These two are independent entities. Okay. So now it says the group number is missing. Okay. So if you don't specify any group and group number, it will automatically create a new group with the next increment. It will increment by 1. So it will create a group 5 with one member 50 MB. So specifying group number is not mandatory, it's optional. It will take the next available or next incremental group number.
One?
Okay? Yeah.
If instead of 5, if I give say like 3 or 1, will it override the
No, no,
old
no.
one?
No, it will not
No.
override the, it will not override. Let me show you that also. So alter database, add log file, group 1 slash database slash test redo underscore demo dot log size. It will say the redolog group is already existing.
Okay.
Log file group 1 already exists.
Okay.
So this is a command to create a new redolog group. Alter database, add log file, group, group number, and within the braces you'll specify the redolog member location. After that you'll specify the size. Now in order to perform the multiplexing, as I already told you, redolog files are very important in order to perform the instance recovery. So we need to safeguard redolog file against the media failure. So that means we need to multiplex the redolog files. That means we need to have a mirror copy of the existing redolog member such that even if one of the copy is corrupted, we can still perform the instance recovery. SMON can still perform the instance recovery using the available members in that redolog group. Now, In order to perform the multiplexing, the command will be alter database, add log file, /database /test redo _1_2 dot log 2 group 1. I made a mistake there. 1 second. So this is a command to add a redolog member to the existing redolog group. Now, if I do select group number members from $log, if you see here, redolog group 1 has 2 members. The reason is I added a new member to the existing group 1. So this is how we will multiplex the redolog files. Alter database, add log file, member, location to group number. You don't need to specify the size. As I said, within the redolog group, we will have all the members of the same size.
Okay.
So there is no option or there is no way you can specify the size whenever you are adding a new member to the existing redolog group.
Mohan, one small doubt.
Yeah.
While database is running, we can do these operations like to create the redolog files.
Yeah, we can do it.
It won't cause any problem.
No, it won't cause any problem.
Okay.
Because actually these are the things which you have to do when the database is running only. Because you can perform write operations against the database whenever the database is in open mode.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if you want to drop the existing member from the redolog group, the command will be alter database, drop log file, member, alter database log file. Let me check. /database /test. So this is the file. This is the command to drop the existing redolog member from the redolog group. Alter database, drop log file, member. You don't need to specify the group number because even across the redolog groups, you cannot have same redolog file names. That means if you have redo1.log in group 1, you cannot create redo1.log in second redolog group or third redolog group or fifth redolog group. So across the redolog groups, the file names will be unique. So while dropping the redolog member, you don't need to specify the group. But while adding a new file, you need to specify the group because Oracle needs to know to which group you are adding the redolog file. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So if I ask the question like across the redolog groups, can I have a redolog file of same name? Can I have it or not?
No.
Yeah. So clear, right? Now, using redolog, we can get some more information. So select group number, members. Okay, let me show you another command. Like if I want to drop the group itself, this is a command to drop the member. Now I want to drop the group itself. But before dropping the group, let me do. I have group 5 and I have one member in that redolog group. Now I want to drop the redolog member 1 which is present in redolog group 5. So I'll issue the command alter database drop log file member slash database slash test redo underscore phi underscore one dot log. So this is the redo log member which is present in redo log group file, and now I want to drop that redo log member. Will this error out or will this succeed? Any idea?
Alter database drop log file. At
Same
least
command, the same command I'm like the same command I'm executing like before. Just I change the redo log file name. But
no, at least you should have one.
yes, so within the group we should require, like within the group we should have at least one redo log member. So if we have only just one member in the redo log group, we cannot drop that member. It says cannot remove last log member. Now, if you want to drop the entire redo log group, to do that we'll issue the command alter database drop log file group 5. This will drop the entire redo log group. Okay. Now I created the files physically. That means it will exist on a physical storage. So let me go to that location slash database slash test. So this is the physical location of my redo log files. Let me search for the files which are of the extension .log. So ls minus ltr star.log. This will give me the files which are ending with .log. Now I have redo 1 underscore 2, redo 3. So something is missing here. I dropped the redo log file member which is redo underscore 1 underscore 2 dot log. Am I correct or not? I dropped it from the database, but still that file is existing on the physical location. Redo underscore 1 underscore 2 is still existing. In a similar way, I dropped the redo log group 5, but still the files are existing on the physical location. But these files are no way related to the database. They are not in use now. But still, at the physical location, the files will be present. So whenever you issue the command alter database drop log file member or alter database drop log file group 5, it will not delete the files physically from that location. You need to go to that location and you need to remove the files using rm command.
Okay.
So redo underscore 5 underscore 1 dot log. In a similar way, I have to remove. Clear, right? So whenever we drop any redo log file or group, it will not delete it from the physical location. You need to delete it manually.
If they are existing, it will cause any problem.
Yes. If they're existing, it will cause the problem. So let me show you that also. I'll show you that maybe in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So redolog will give you some more information regarding redolog groups. So it will show you whether that redolog group is required for instance recovery or not. So if something happens at this moment of time, whether that redolog group is required to perform the instance recovery. And also it will show you whether the content in the redolog group is archived or not. So apart from getting redolog group and number of members in that group and size of each redolog group, we can also get whether it is required for the instance recovery, whether it has been archived or not. So this will show you whether the redolog group is archived or not. So archived is a column in redolog which will show you whether the content is archived or not. And also status is a column which will show you whether that redolog group is required to perform the instance recovery or not. So okay. So if you see here, the archived, this column will actually have two values. One is yes, the second is no. If the archived column says yes, that means the content of the redolog file is been archived. So that means this redolog file or this redolog group is not required to perform the instance recovery. The reason is the content is already archived. So when SMON is trying to perform the instance recovery, it can get the content from the archlog file itself. It doesn't require the redolog file. Are you getting?
Yeah.
But looking at the archived column itself, we cannot say whether it is required for the instance recovery or not. Of course, if even the content from the redolog group is lost, we can get from the archlog file. There is no doubt. But Archil will treat a redolog group, whether it is required for the instance recovery or not, by checking at the checkpoint change number. By checking at the checkpoint change number, it will decide whether the redolog group is required to perform the instance recovery or not. So this status column will show you. If the status column is inactive, that means the redolog group is not required to perform the instance recovery. If the status is current, so basically the status column will take four values. Status column in vdollar will take four values. One is inactive, that means it is not required to perform instance recovery. Second, active. It is required to perform instance recovery. Third, unused. It is not used yet. This is a new redolog group. New redolog group just created. New group just created. And the fourth value for this column will be current. Current means log writer is pointing to this redolog group. Okay, these are the four values the status column can take: inactive, active, unused, and current. So looking at those values, you can specify whether the redolog group is required to perform the instance recovery or not. So basically, whenever it says active or whenever it says current, those two redolog groups are required to perform the instance recovery. And whenever it is inactive or unused, it is not required to perform the instance recovery. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So how does it maps? How does it map the checkpoint change number of data file with the redolog sequence number? So basically, there is a term called as sequence number, which is associated with redolog files and archlog files. So first, whenever you create the database, the sequence number starts with 0. And whenever it performs log switch, whenever the log writer performs log switch, sequence number increments by 1. Okay. Now, whenever whenever log writer performs log switch, It also records checkpoint change number into redolog headers or redolog files. So redolog files will also have the checkpoint change number. So depending, by comparing those values, it will decide whether it is required for the instance recovery or not. So basically it checks the checkpoint change number of the data file header with the checkpoint change number available in the redolog file. So in order to get the checkpoint change number which is available in the redolog file, we have to basically check two more columns which are available in $log. Select group number, archive, status, first underscore change number, next underscore change number from $log. Okay, so these are the two more new columns which we'll see, first underscore change number and next underscore change number. As I said, whenever the log writer performs the redo log switch, it will also record the checkpoint change number, correct? So the first underscore change number and next underscore change number are nothing but the checkpoint occurred at that moment of time. So basically it will record first underscore change number means checkpoint change number at which log writer pointed to this redo log group. This will be first underscore change number. This is a checkpoint change number at which the log writer pointed to this redo log group. Next underscore change number is a checkpoint change number at which log writer switches from this group to next group. సో లాగ్ రైటర్ దీనికి పాయింట్ అవుతున్నప్పుడు ఒక నెంబర్ రికార్డ్ చేసుకుంటుంది, ఈ రీడర్ గ్రూప్ నుంచి ఇంకో రీడర్ గ్రూప్కి వెళ్తున్నప్పుడు ఇంకొక నెంబర్ రికార్డ్ చేస్తుంది. సో దీనికి పాయింట్ అవుతున్నప్పుడు రికార్డ్ చేసిన చేంజ్ నెంబర్ ఫస్ట్ అండర్స్కోర్ చేంజ్ నెంబర్, దీని నుంచి ఇంకొక రీడర్ గ్రూప్కి వెళ్తున్నప్పుడు రికార్డ్ చేసిన నెంబర్ ఇట్ విల్ బి నెక్స్ట్ అండర్స్కోర్ చేంజ్ నెంబర్. సో బోత్ ఆఫ్ దీస్ columns will hold checkpoint change number, but it will record the time at which log writer is pointing to this redo log group, and the next underscore change number will record the change number at which it is going to another redo log group. So that is the difference between these two terms, first underscore change number and next underscore change number. Okay, so now that means at checkpoint change number 988389 redo log writer was pointing to this redo log group 1, and at 1023715 checkpoint change number redo log group log writer is switched from redo log file or redo log group 1 to redo log group 2. As a result, redo log group 2 first underscore change number will be the next underscore change number of redo log group 1, because at the same checkpoint change number log writer is pointing to the next redo log group. Now at 1047113 the checkpoint change number, it performed again the log switch. So this will become the first underscore change number for redo log group 3. Now as this redo log group is current, that means log writer is acting on this group. So log writer is not yet switched to the next redo log group. So as a result, the next underscore change number will be infinity, and that will be determined, that will be in the form of an exponent. It's an indefinite. That means redo log switch is not yet occurred. Okay, now We'll compare these values with checkpoint change number available on the data file headers. Select distinct checkpoint underscore change number from $v data file. I guess I already told you this will give you the checkpoint change number which is recorded in the $v data file. Now 1047114, that means until this checkpoint change number all the content has been written to the data files. అంటే రీడులో గ్రూప్ 2 వరకు ఏదైతే రీడు ట్రాన్సాక్షన్స్ రికార్డ్ అయ్యాయో అవన్నీ దీంట్లో ఆల్రెడీ ఉన్న డేటా ఫైల్స్ లో. దట్ మీన్స్ టిల్ దిస్ రీడులో గ్రూప్ 2, till this readlog group, we don't require any content to perform the instance recovery. Starting from 1047113, what is the information, whatever the information present in this readlog groups, that is required to perform the instance recovery. Okay?
Yeah.
Clear, huh?
Yeah, clear. And
now if I delete readlog group 3, what will happen? I mean, like, what I'm saying is I'll go to the physical location and I want to delete redo03.log, which is current readlog file. Let me do that and we'll see what will happen. Now I deleted the readlog group. I'll issue commit. So whenever I issue the commit, a log switch will happen, and also it will trigger checkpoint change. It will also trigger the CKPT process.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will not error out anything. I mean, like, it will not say anything. Now let me do alter system archive log current. It will try to archive. Actually, this is the command to archive the current readlog file. Alter system archive log current. So that means this is the current readlog file, which is group 3, and this command will archive the content which is present in the readlog file or readlog group 3. Okay?
But it already deleted, right?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It should error out.
Okay.
This is a command to perform the readlog group. Now, error at line 1, log 3 sequence 15 cannot be archived. The reason is readlog group 3, we don't have that file physically. The file is deleted. So as a result, it cannot archive the content. Okay. Now I'll bring down the database. I'll do set immediate. So whenever you do startup or shutdown commands, all the flow, how it will bring down the database and how it will bring up the database, all the things will be recorded in the alert log. So it's taking some time. We'll see what is getting recorded in the alert log. Okay, it closed the database. Okay, now let me start up the database. Database will not be it will not start the database. It will error out. Because once the instance is started, it will access the control file. It will get the location of readlog files and the data files. After that, it will try to open the files for the input output operations. So at that moment of time, it will try to open the redo log group 3, and it will not be able to find the redo log group 3. As a result, it will error out saying end of file communication channel. Now let us go to the alert log location and we'll see what is the cause. We already know the cause. Okay, so now if you see here, open failed for redo log group 1, sorry, online log 3 thread 1. So as a result, it errored out. So it was unable to open the redo log group 3. Open failed for the members of log group 3. So that's what I said. So once it goes to the mount, once it gets the location of redo log files and data files, it will try to open those files for input output operations. And when it was trying to open the redo log group 3, it was not able to do so. As a result, it errored out. Now, in order to resolve this issue, okay, let me connect to the database again. So connect slash that. I connected to an idle instance. Let me issue startup mount. Okay, now the database is mounted, so that means I can access the content which is present in the VDL log. So group number, archived, status, okay. So now group 3 is inactive and group redo log group 4 is current. Okay, now we already know the file is missing in redo log group 3. So in order to recreate the redo log file 3, we'll issue the command alter database clear log file group 3. Okay, what I'll do, I'll go to that location and I'll show you how the file will be recreated. Okay, this is a location where I should have the my redo log group 3 file. So now by issuing this command, it will create the redo log file which is deleted. Okay, now it says log 3 of instance test needs to be archived, because if you see here, group 3 archival status is no. The content which is present in the redo log group 3 is not archived, because when it was current we deleted the file. Now in order to recreate the file which is not yet archived, alter database clear unarchived log file group 3. So this will recreate the redo log file which is present in the redo log group 3. Now if I do ls-ltr, we'll have the redo03.log. It will automatically create alter database clear log file. So if by accidentally if redo log file which is not current or which is not active got corrupted, in that case we can just issue this command to clear the log file. But if an active redo log group or if the current redo log group is corrupted, then we have to issue this command alter database clear unarchived log file group and then group number. Okay, now I'll issue alter database open. You can ask me like what happened to the content which is present in the group 3, whether it was written to the data files or not. Do you have that question or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is happened to the content which is present in the redo log group 3? So was it written to the data files or not? So what does the redo log groups have? Will it have the redo information or the actual data?
Redo information.
Yes. So when I did shutdown immediate, actually it will transfer the content which is present in the buffer cache to the data files.
Okay.
So dbwr will write the dirty buffers which are present in the buffer cache to the data files. As a result, it is not required for the instance recovery.
It's already there in data files, right?
Yes, because when I issue the shutdown immediate, dbwr, whenever we do shutdown immediate, it will actually trigger dbwr, and
Yeah.
dbwr in turn will write the dirty buffers from buffer cache to the data files. As a result, we doesn't require the content which is present in the log file group 3. But
Okay.
log file group 3 will come into the picture when the redo log group 3 is corrupted and when there was any power failure occurs. In that case, we'll not issue the shutdown immediate. In that case, dbwr will not write the content from buffer cache to the data files. And at that time, you will see the error saying that redo log group 3 is required for the instance recovery. That I'll show you when I'll teach you about what are the various options which are available with the shutdown.
Okay.
So if you shut down the database properly, you'll not have any issues because dbwr will write the dirty buffers. If you'll not shut down the database properly, then you'll have the issues. Clear?
Yeah.
Next, there is some more information available in $log file. So basically, the type of redolog files, there are actually two types of redolog files. Redolog files are of two types. First is online log files. Second is standby log files. Information about the standby log files you'll see in the future classes. It requires some advanced topics. For now, whatever we are seeing or whatever you are practicing all comes under online log files. So if you want to know whether the redo log file you created is an online log file or a standby log file, you can check that in $log file. This will give you the type of the redo log file. So there is a column called as type which will show you whether it's an online log file or a standby log file. So these are online log files. All the redo log groups which we created are online log files. Next, in log we saw the status column, and in log file also we have the status column, but these two are different. The status column in log and status column in log file is different. Let us go ahead and check the status of log file. So the status is null. That means actually the status column in log file will show you whether the log file is corrupted or whether the log file is not corrupted. Whether it will just show you the status. It's whether it is available to use or not. If it is available to use, the status column will be null. If it is not available to use, it will have a different number. It will have a different value. So we'll see that again. So now let me delete another file, rm-f redo 02.log. I'm deleting this file. Still the status column shows as null. Now select group number status from $log. Okay. The current redolog group is 4 and I deleted the redolog file of group 2. Now we need to point the log writer to read log group 2. Then only it will know read log group 2 cannot be used. So in order to perform a log switch, so as I already told you, log switch will occur whenever the log buffer is 2/3 full or for every 3 seconds. Now, sorry, I mean like whenever the read log file is full, the read log switch will happen, or whenever the user issues. No, that's it. That's the only case where a log switch will happen whenever the read log file is filled. Whenever the current read log file group is filled, then only the log switch will happen. Now, in order to perform log switch manually, so there is also a command by which you can perform a log switch manually. In order to do that, this command will perform a log switch. The moment I issue this command, if I check the status, the current read log group will be a different one. See, now the read log group 3 is current. Before read log 4 was current, now read log 3 is current. So this is the way we can perform a manual switch, manual log switch. Alter system switch log file. Let me switch the log file again. See, now the read log writer is pointing to read log group 1. And the status column shows as active because the content present in 3 and 4 is required for instance recovery if power failure occurs or if the database is not shut down properly. Now let me switch the log file again. Okay, now group 2 is current and we deleted the file group 2. Alter system archive log current. So this will try to archive the content which is present in read log group 2. It's archive space log. Okay, it errored out. Now we'll check the status. Okay, still it is not recorded. Now in order to change this value, we need to shut down the database and we need to bring it up again. So shut immediate. I just want to show you what will be the value of status column if the read log group becomes unusable. Okay, now the database is down. Let me bring it up in mount mode. Okay, still the status is null. Actually it should change. Okay, there is no way. Looks like. Okay, still it's showing as null. Actually, it will show the status as deferred. Let me check once. Okay, so basically the status column will have three values, four values. One is null, that means the file can be used, file is in use. The second will be deleted, file is no longer used. And the third is stale, file contents are incomplete. And the fourth is invalid, file is inaccessible. So actually the status column value should change, but I don't know, somehow it's not getting changed. So usually it will take these four values in redolog file. Null means the file is in use, it can be used. Deleted means the file is no longer present in the physical location. Stale means somehow log writer while writing the content to the redolog members, on one member it wrote it, it correctly returned the content from redolog buffer, but to the other member somehow some of the information was missing. In that case the status will be stale. And invalid means the file is inaccessible, maybe the permissions got changed. Okay, try to show.
Okay.
I was not able to show that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, right.
Okay. ఇక్కడ వరకు ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయండి?
Yeah, ఏం లేవండి.
Okay, the next physical file we'll see about password file. And remember, to perform a log switch we'll use alter system switch log file. To archive the content of redolog file we'll use alter database archive log current. And there is one more thing. Yep, let me show that. Redolog log. So whenever you're trying to drop a member or redolog group, and if the status is current or active, you cannot drop it. Now the redolog group 4 is current. If I try to drop the current redolog group, alter database drop log file group 4. So it says log file is a current log file, you cannot drop it. So whenever you're dropping a log file, this comes into a picture. This should come into a picture, like this should come into your mind. You cannot drop a redolog group which is current or active. So whenever the redolog group is current, you cannot drop it. In a similar way, whenever the redolog group status is active, you cannot drop it. Okay? Hello?
Hello?
Okay, yeah. Okay kada, current redolog group aina active redolog group aina, you cannot drop it.
Yeah.
Next physical file we'll see about password file. Like parameter file, password file will also exist under Oracle home followed by DBS location. So this is a location where password file will reside. and password file will be of the form aura pw sid. So password file name will be aura pw sid, and we'll see why we require this password file. So whenever we are trying to connect to the database from a remote machine. So what are the different information required in order to connect to the database from a remote machine?
I get it.
So we need DB name.
Intent.
Now what are the different things which are required in order to connect to the database from a remote machine?
DB name, host name,
Yeah, DB name, host name, port
user ID,
number,
port number, user ID, password.
user ID and password. So whenever you are trying to connect to the database from a remote machine, these are the information required. And whenever you specify username like Scott or Mohan or something else which are present in the database, the credentials will be authenticated. The user credentials will be authenticated from the database. So inside the database, passwords will be stored in some tables, some internal tables, and using those tables, it will authenticate the user credentials. If the credentials are correct, then it will allow the user to connect to the database. Okay. Now, apart from all these users, there is one super user. So, who is the super user of the database? Sys user. Whenever you want to try to connect to the database from a remote machine using sys user, authentication will not be performed from the database. Authentication will be done using password file. So whenever you are trying to connect to the sys user, from a remote machine, authentication will be done using password file, and the password file will have the password of sys user. So whenever you give password as Oracle, it will check in the password file whether the password matches with the input value given by the user or not. If it matches to the value which is present in the password file, then it will allow the user to be connect to the database as sys user from the remote machine. So whenever you want to try to connect to the database from a remote machine using sys, then the authentication will be done using password file, not through the database. Okay. Now you can ask me like password file. Okay, it's present in the physical location. Now any users can open that file if all the users have read permission to that file. That means all the users can open that file and they can view the password. But that is not the case. The password file will be in encrypted format. You cannot view the actual password which is present in the password file. So let us go ahead and check that. Okay, right now I have the password file aura pw test. So password file will be of the form aura pw followed by sid. Now if I cat the content, I'll see some encrypted. Like this is a binary file. The first thing is it's a binary file. So that is the reason why I can see some special characters. Now, in order to read the binary file, we can use strings. And if I do this one, it shows me the password, but this is in encrypted format. Okay, so it is secured. The password which is present in the password file is secured. Now, how can we create the password file? And how can we specify the password inside the password file? As a DBA, you'll be creating the password file because you should log in as sys user. So all the DBAs in the team will be logged in as sys user mostly from remote machines also. So that means you need to know what is the password which is present in the password file. Now, in order to create the password file, we will use a utility called as Aura PWD. So whenever you install the database software RDBMS binaries, this utility will also be installed, which is Aura PWD. Using this utility, we'll create a password file. So the command to create a password file will be Aura PWD space file equal to Aura PW test space password equal to Oracle. So this is the command to create a password file and to set a password for sysuser. Now when I issue this command, it says the file is already existing because Aura PW test is already existing. Now in order to replace the existing file, I can use the option force equal to y. This will override the file if it is already present in this location. Now if you see the timestamp, it is modified at May 4, 1254. So that means it's a new password file which is created. Now if I want to check the content, it will be of the encrypted format again. So this is how we can create a password file, and password file will be used for sys authentication whenever a user is trying to connect to the database from a remote machine as sys user. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next ఇంకొక 5 minutes తీసుకుంటాను. The next physical file will be TNS names. This is another physical file which will be present on the server where the database resides, as well as where the client tries to connect to the database. So basically TNS names.ora will have information about connection. As you already said, in order to connect to the database, these are all the information you required. Whenever you are trying to connect to the database, instead of specifying each time database name, host name and port number, we can give this information in a file. We can keep this information in a file, and we can give an alias name for this information. For example, for DB name, host name and port number, I'll give an alias name as test. And after that, I can use test. Instead of specifying all the information like DB name, host name and port number, I'll just specify test. And this will translate test into DB name, host name and port number. And it will allow me to connect to the database. And by default, TNS names.ora file will be present in Oracle Home Network Admin. Password file and P file are present in Oracle Home/DBS. TNS names.ora file is present in Oracle Home Network Admin. Now let me go to Network Admin. Okay, I have TNS names.ora here. You should see I have TNS names.ora. So this is how we'll save the information. So the host name and the type of protocol we are using to connect to the database, as well as the database name. So we'll store that information in this format, and we will give an alias name for all this information. So that is called as test. Now whenever I'm using test, it will be translated into this information. So basically, whenever you're trying to connect to the database, 1 second, let me show that. Okay, now if I want to connect to the test database, think that this is a remote machine and I'm trying to connect to the test database which is sitting on a different location. Now in order to connect to that, I want to know the username and password. So I'll take Scott/user. After that, I have to specify the host name. So let me check the host name where the database resides. /sbin /ifconfig. Actually, here on the same server the database resides, but I'm just showing you how to connect to a remote database. This is the IP address 192.168.1.70 colon port number is 1521 slash database name, which is test. So this is how we can connect to the database using SQL Plus utility. Already showed you how to connect to the database from a SQL developer. So you can specify their host name and all those options there. It's present. It's a graphical user interface. But SQL Plus is a command line interface, so you cannot specify all those things. So in order to connect to the database by specifying all the details, this is how we'll connect to the database. SQL Plus username / password @hostname colon port number / database name. Okay. So it should be Scott / tiger. That's the reason why it said login deny. So I'm connecting to the database which is present in host 192.168.170 and the database name is test. So instead of specifying all the details when I'm trying to connect to SQL Plus, instead of specifying all the details like host number, port number and TNS name and the database name, I'll just embed these details into a connection, an alias name. Okay, so my host name is 1.70, my port number is 1521 and my database name is test. So I'm enclosing that into, for all this information I'm giving an alias name as dev. Now to connect to the test database which is present in 1.70, I'll just do SQL Plus Scott / tiger @dev. This dev will be translated into host name, port number and service name. Okay, so this is how a TNS names etc. will be used. All the information which is required to connect to the database will be enclosed under alias name and that alias name will be used to connect to the database. Is it clear?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll wind up the class and I'll continue tomorrow
Okay.
Yeah, bye.
at 11 a.m.
Okay.
and use the same meeting ID what you used today.
Okay.
Okay, then bye.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye. Bye, Ashish.
Bye.